melee, to no ammo, no reload, no sound giving away your position from 3 blocks over. That is the entire pitch of melee weapons in GTA, and it is why the category refuses to die even in a game full of rocket launchers. The knife costs $100 and kills fast, but it loses to something you would never expect: the golf club. Sprint toward an enemy with a knife out, and you swing slower than a golf club user doing the exact same thing. A weapon designed for a quiet Sunday on the green outpaces a combat blade in a foot race to the kill. Then there is the crowbar, sitting on the eastern edge of Los Santos in a quiet cul-de-sac, doing blunt force damage on par with the hammer and the nightstick, 3 completely different tools converging on the same number. The baseball bat matches the golf club and the pool cue in raw damage too, which means 3 of the best melee weapons in the game are things you would find at a sporting goods store, not an armory. The antique cavalry dagger takes a different angle entirely, styled after a Civil War era blade with Bowie knife influences, and it hits slightly harder than the standard knife, capable of dropping most NPCs in a single strike. It also does something almost no other weapon in the game can do. It works underwater, alongside only the knife and the knuckle dusters, a small detail that matters a great deal during the game's handful of underwater missions. The battle axe arrived later in the Bikers update, priced at $9,500 for a weapon that looks far more expensive than it is, with both its damage and its rate of attack sitting at 15, modest numbers on paper, but the battle axe and the hatchet share a rare privilege among edged weapons. Both can be swung one-handed while riding a motorcycle, a feature most melee weapons simply do not get. But here's where it gets interesting. The Stone Hatchet, handed out only after completing 5 bounties, does something no other melee weapon does. Land a hit on an NPC with it in GTA Online, and it triggers 12 seconds of Rampage. A window that resets with every kill inside it. It turns one axe into a chain reaction. Every melee weapon shares one rule: get close enough, enter a combat stance, and you can read your opponent's swing. Time a jump against their attack and you dodge it clean, then punish with your own hit before they reset. It is the only weapon class in the game built around a real duel instead of a trigger pull. In story mode, you cannot swing a machete from the driver's seat, but GTA Online lets you take a nightstick to someone's skull while riding a motorcycle, one hand on the bars. Underneath the crowbars and candy canes, melee is the class built for the moment your gun runs dry, or the moment you never wanted it heard in the first place. Handguns. Every character in GTA starts here, and the pistol is about as basic as a firearm gets. A 12-round magazine, 1 shot a second, $350 at any ammunition. But the handgun class does not stay basic for long. The AP pistol, modeled after the real-world Colt Scamp, unlocks at rank 33 for $5,000 and fires fast enough to function like a machine pistol rather than a sidearm. Rule: handguns are supposed to be the weakest, most disposable class in the wheel. Exception: the heavy pistol breaks that rule completely, packing a semi-automatic 18-round magazine, extendable to 36, with damage and range that outclass nearly every other one-handed weapon in the game. It is also the only weapon class in GTA where reloading behaves differently depending on whether the magazine is fully empty or not, a quirk unique to handguns and nothing else. The ceramic pistol takes the category somewhere stranger still, built with ceramic parts specifically so it slips past X-rays and metal detectors. It trades stopping power for concealment, landing near the bottom of the damage charts alongside the SNS pistol, but carrying a full 12-round magazine that can stretch to 17. A gun designed less for a firefight and more for getting past a checkpoint undetected. Then the revolvers show up and change the conversation again. The Heavy Revolver hits like a sledgehammer at $5,900. The Navy Revolver costs $50,000 and performs almost identically, except it reloads slower by design, a deliberate handicap on a gun that otherwise matches its rival round for round. And the double-action revolver is not sold at any ammunition at all. It is unlocked only through a treasure hunt triggered by a mystery email, turning a handgun into a scavenger hunt reward. The Marksman pistol takes the opposite approach entirely. A tiny magazine, but enough damage per shot to make every single round count, built for players who would rather aim once than spray 12 times. The WM-29 pistol takes the theme of hidden meaning even further. Based on the Heckler & Koch P7, its entire design and its role in the in-game Weasel Plaza shootout event are a direct nod to the 1988 film Die Hard, and the gun's own name is a reference to a scene from that movie where the villain's fake alias is exposed by checking a building's floor directory. With a base damage of 35, it lands as a genuinely strong handgun, just a tier below heavier caliber options like the heavy pistol, and then there is the Perico pistol, a gun you cannot buy, cannot find on the street, and cannot unlock through rank. The only way into your hands is by stealing it during the Cayo Perico heist itself, which makes it less a weapon and more a trophy that happens to fire bullets. From a $100 sidearm to a stolen island heirloom, the handgun class covers more range in price and personality than any other in the game. If you are new here, hit like and subscribe to catch more videos breaking down the guns, gear, and history behind GTA. Drop a comment with the handgun you reach for first. Now, back into the arsenal. Submachine guns and machine guns. Rockstar crammed two entirely different gun families into one wheel slot, and the confusion that causes is baked right into the game's own files. The micro SMG is small, fast-firing, and inaccurate at range. The definition of a close-quarters panic button. Its smaller sibling, the mini SMG, pushes concealability even further, while the machine pistol blurs the entire line between handgun and SMG by firing fully automatic despite looking like an oversized sidearm. The standard SMG balances everything out with moderate damage and fire rate, while the assault SMG pushes both damage and magazine size higher for players who want to stay aggressive, and the tactical SMG rounds out the family as one more variation on the same close quarters formula. The combat PDW goes further still. A built-in suppressor, a 30-round magazine extendable to 60, and a price tag of $11,750 once you hit rank 42. But here's where it gets interesting. The Gusenberg Sweeper looks, sounds, and fires exactly like a Prohibition-era submachine gun, because it is one styled straight out of the Valentine's Day Massacre special. It should belong in this SMG family. Instead, the game classifies it as a light machine gun, sharing ammunition with the MG instead of its SMG cousins. The result is a weapon caught between two identities, firing at 555 rounds per minute with 34 damage per shot, numbers that put it on par with assault rifles rather than other submachine guns. For a moment, it looks like it outclasses everything else in the class. Then, the exception arrives. The Combat MG, described in-game as lightweight and compact despite belonging to the machine gun family, beats the Gusenberg in accuracy, ammo capacity, and damage per shot, making the flashier Prohibition gun the inferior choice the second you compare the numbers side by side. Meanwhile, the standard MG plays a completely different role: general purpose, built for penetrating power at long range, and devastating against groups of enemies rather than a single target. That is the real split hiding inside this one category. SMGs are close range, mobile, and disposable. Machine guns are heavier, slower to bring up, and built to mow down numbers rather than win a duel. One wheel slot, two philosophies, and a Prohibition-era outlier that never quite decided which one it belonged to. Shotguns. 8 weapon categories exist in GTA 5, and this is the one where the game hides its strangest member in plain sight. The Musket is a flintlock, styled after the curved stock brown Bess rifles carried in the Revolutionary War, and by any real-world definition, it belongs nowhere near a shotgun rack. GTA classifies it as one anyway. It also happens to be the slowest reloading gun in the entire game, closer to a novelty prop than a practical weapon, and yet there it sits, filed under the same category as guns built 2 centuries later. The pump shotgun is the opposite kind of icon, the shotgun shown in nearly every GTA 5 trailer before launch, one of the first weapons handed to players in the story campaign, and still one of the most balanced guns in its class years later. The sawed-off shotgun earns its spot for a different reason entirely. It is one of only a few shotguns that can be fired while riding a motorcycle, alongside the double barrel and the sweeper shotgun, a small mechanical detail that makes it far more useful on the move than its low damage numbers suggest. Speaking of the double barrel, it comes with an odd restriction. Players cannot choose to fire a single barrel at a time. Pulling the trigger dumps both barrels at once, every time, which turns it into a devastating 1-2 punch followed by an agonizingly long reload. The sweeper shotgun, modeled after the real Armsel striker and added in that same biker's update, actually performs worse than the assault shotgun on foot. Weaker rounds, a slower rate of fire, and a magazine that tops out at 10 shells against the assault shotgun's 32. but mount a motorcycle and hand cannon the sweeper one-handed, and it suddenly outclasses every other shotgun available in that specific situation. A weapon whose entire identity depends on whether your feet are on the ground. The assault shotgun breaks from tradition altogether. Where a real pump-action shotgun feeds from a tube and reloads shell by shell, the in-game assault shotgun uses a detachable magazine and fires fully automatically, styled after the real UTS-15 but behaving mechanically more like the AA-12 combat shotgun. The bullpup shotgun, styled after the Kel-Tec KSG, was originally a collector's edition exclusive and sits in an awkward middle ground, better than the sawed-off, worse than the pump shotgun, which means almost nobody actually uses it despite it being available from the very start of the game. And the combat shotgun solves the one problem every other shotgun has. At close range, its damage is high enough to drop a target without needing a headshot at all, removing the precision requirement that defines every other gun in the game. 8 barrels, 8 different philosophies, and 1 flintlock musket that never should have been filed here in the first place. Assault rifles. 9 rifles live in this category, and almost all of them trace back to real military hardware. The Special Carbine, based on the Heckler & Koch G36C, is available from level 1 for $14,750, and it posts the single highest overall stat average of any weapon in the game, 47.8 out of 100, while also being the most balanced across accuracy, range, damage, and fire rate. That is not a small achievement in a game with dozens of competing rifles. But here's the exception. The bullpup rifle, based visually on the CTR-21 variant of the Israeli TAR-21, ties for the fastest fire rate in its class, trading the Special Carbine's balance for raw speed. The advanced rifle takes a third approach entirely. Modeled after that same CTAR-21 platform, it is deliberately the lightest and most compact rifle in the category, yet it still manages one of the highest damage per shot values in the class, tied with the compact rifle and heavy rifle at 34 damage, and it fires at the same 500 rounds per minute as the bullpup. 3 rifles, 3 different design philosophies, nearly identical results. The carbine rifle, based on the AR-15, unlocks later at rank 42 and gives players a second progression path once the Special Carbine starts to feel routine. Beyond these 4 sit the assault rifle itself, the baseline weapon most players outgrow almost immediately, and a wave of GTA Online editions that expanded the category well past its original size: the compact rifle, the heavy rifle, the service carbine, and the battle rifle, each one arriving through a different update and carving out its own niche. The military rifle stands apart from the rest of that group. Priced at $397,500, it carries no reputation lock the way some of its Cayo Perico-era siblings do, and it first showed up in the hands of El Rubio's mercenaries patrolling the island itself before Rockstar made it available for purchase outright, a weapon players first saw pointed at them before they ever got to point it back. Rockstar even went back and gave several of these guns Mark II upgrades through the gun running and Doomsday Heist updates, adding tracer rounds, armor-piercing ammo, and incendiary rounds to weapons that were already competitive without them. The result is a category with no single correct answer. New players default to the Special Carbine because its stats do the arguing for them. Veterans drift toward the bullpup or the advanced rifle once they get tired of using the same gun as everyone else in the lobby. 9 rifles, 1 wheel slot, and enough overlap in performance that the real deciding factor usually comes down to which one looks right in your hands. Sniper rifles. This is the smallest category in the game by weapon count, and also the one where a single missing attachment defines an entire weapon's reputation. The sniper rifle itself is based on the real Arctic Warfare L96A1, unlocked in story mode after the mission Nervous Ron, and it plays the role you would expect: 1 shot, 1 kill, from a distance nothing else in the game can match. The heavy sniper goes bigger, built around the M107 Barrett and its 50 caliber Browning rounds, powerful enough in-game to match its real-world reputation as an anti-material weapon. But here's the catch: the heavy sniper cannot mount a suppressor. At all. It is one of the few weapons in the entire game with that specific limitation, which means every shot you take with it announces your exact position to anyone within earshot. A weapon built for long-range precision undermines its own stealth the moment you pull the trigger. Then there is the Marksman Rifle, and it barely belongs in this category at all. It fires semi-automatically rather than bolt action, comes with a fixed 2.25 times zoom that can never be upgraded to an advanced scope, and posts an unusually low damage per shot value of 65. Low, that is, until you factor in its 200 rounds per minute fire rate, which pushes its damage output to 217 per second, edging out even the heavy sniper's raw power. It is also one of only 2 sniper-class weapons in the game that lets you move while aiming down the scope, a privilege every other rifle in this class denies you. Rockstar eventually fixed the heavy sniper's biggest flaw with the Mark II variant, introduced through the Doomsday Heist update. The heavy sniper M2 accepts a suppressor, thermal and night vision scopes, and specialty ammunition including explosive rounds capable of destroying a helicopter in a single hit, turning the platform's original weakness into one of the most versatile weapons in the entire game. The category grew again with the Criminal Enterprises update, which added the Remington 700 PCR, a bolt-action rifle built as a direct derivative of the real-world Remington 700 and dressed up to look almost exactly like a sniper rifle Menkai 2 at a glance, despite being an entirely separate platform under the hood. 3 original rifles, 1 modern edition, and a hierarchy where the newest upgrade does not just outperform the original. It corrects the exact flaw that made it dangerous to use in the first place. Thrown weapons. Nothing in this category needs a magazine, a reload animation, or a trigger pull, and that simplicity is exactly what makes it so unpredictable. The grenade, based on the real M61 fragmentation grenade, has a small blast radius but lethal force inside it, and players can carry up to 25 at once. Throw it without aiming first and it drops silently at your own feet. No warning sound, no indicator, just a live grenade, sitting where you are standing. The pipe bomb, added during the Bikers update for a modest $500, takes the opposite approach. It detonates half a second after landing, far faster than the grenade's 4-second fuse, which makes it brutally effective when rolled directly under a vehicle or lobbed into a crowd. The trade-off is that it releases a visible trail of smoke the instant it is thrown, broadcasting exactly where it landed to anyone watching, and its blast radius runs a full meter smaller than a standard grenade's. The sticky bomb solves the timing problem the grenade creates by trading instant detonation for total control. Attach it to nearly any surface and trigger it remotely whenever you choose. The proximity mine looks like the same idea, but here's the exception that gets people killed. Both the sticky bomb and the proximity mine detonate the instant they take any damage, whether they are sitting on the ground or still flying through the air. Misjudge a throw near your own team and you can wipe out the people you were trying to protect. The Molotov cocktail plays by different rules entirely, trading a single burst of damage for fire that lingers and spreads. Throw one into dry grass on the hills outside Los Santos, and the flames do not stay contained to your target. They crawl across the vegetation, growing well past the spot where you threw it, capable of catching the thrower in their own blaze if the wind and terrain do not cooperate. Then there is the strange pairing of tear gas and BZ gas, 2 weapons built from the exact same in-game model, a red canister M18 smoke grenade, that behave in completely different ways. Tear gas incapacitates multiple enemies at once, and sustained exposure to it can be lethal. BZ gas, its visual twin, does no lethal harm to NPCs whatsoever. It exists purely as a mission-specific distraction tool, appearing only during the jewel store job when Michael and his crew steal it from a Humane Labs vehicle to pull off the heist's smart approach. 2 grenades that look identical, and one of them cannot actually kill anyone. That contradiction sits at the heart of the entire thrown weapons category. Some of these devices are built to end a fight in one throw. Others exist to end it without a single shot being fired at all. Heavy weapons. Everything else in the arsenal has been building toward this. The RPG has a range of 295 meters, farther than almost anything else you can carry, and its unguided rocket is still one of the most destructive single shots available in the entire game. But here's the exception that dethrones it. The homing launcher, based on the real SA-7 Grail and added to the game back in 2014's Festive Surprise update, locks onto a target and guides its missile toward it automatically. Against a moving vehicle or a fleeing enemy, a weapon that has to be aimed manually simply cannot compete with one that steers itself. The grenade launcher covers similar ground with a lobbed, arcing round rather than a straight flying rocket, better suited to clearing enemies tucked behind cover than to chasing something on wheels. Its smaller cousin, the compact grenade launcher, changes the entire equation. Introduced in the Bikers update at $45,000, it became the very first heavy weapon in the game that players could fire in a drive-by, though only from a motorcycle or a boat, and only with real risk. Get too close to your own target, and the blast radius can total your ride and take you down with it. The compact EMP launcher, added years later through the contract update and manufactured in-game by Coil, trades explosive force for something stranger. It fires specialized grenades that knock out a vehicle's engine for 5 seconds, or 3, against electric vehicles, stunning any NPCs caught in the blast without doing meaningful damage to them at all. It is a weapon built to disable, not to kill, and it is priced at $525,000 specifically because it is only available through an agency's armory rather than a standard ammunition shelf. The minigun takes yet another trade-off. Unlocked at rank 120, it slows the player who wields it, stripping away the ability to sprint, take cover, or dodge, but in exchange, it delivers sustained, devastating fire against groups, vehicles, and aircraft alike. Then there is the Widowmaker, Rockstar's answer to what the minigun would look like if it were built decades in the future. It performs identically to the minigun in every measurable stat, and even shares its ammunition, but instead of bullets, it fires a continuous red laser beam. That beam is also its biggest weakness. It is impossible to miss, lighting up your exact position for every enemy on the map the second you pull the trigger. It costs 10 times more than the minigun itself, and unlike the minigun, it can be purchased at any rank at all. No grinding required, just a willingness to pay for the privilege. The firework launcher sits off to the side of all this as the category's oddball, reaching out to 135 meters and detonating with the same explosive force as a real heavy weapon, despite being dressed up as a piece of holiday novelty rather than military hardware, proof that even the most destructive class in the game has room for a gun that looks like it belongs at a New Year's party. The railgun closes out the category as something else entirely. Manufactured in-game by Coil, it fires a single metallic round faster than the speed of sound, capable of destroying a vehicle in one shot and reaching targets at extreme range with pinpoint accuracy. In the real world, no portable railgun like it actually exists. The underlying electromagnetic technology remains experimental, tethered to labs and warships, never miniaturized into something a person could carry and fire by hand. GTA built a weapon around a piece of physics humanity has not solved yet, then handed it to players for $250,000 at ammunition. From a manually aimed rocket to a missile that finds its own target, from a gun that costs you your mobility to one that costs you your location. The instant you fire, the heavy weapons category is where every earlier trade-off in this list gets pushed to its absolute limit. Which weapon type do you reach for first when things go loud? Drop it in the comments.